All right. Let's dive right into this stack of articles you sent over about AI and its impact on the economy. Seems like every day there's a new headline about how AI is going to change the world. And honestly, you're right to be curious about what it all actually means.
Yeah, it's definitely more than just hype at this point.
Yep.
The potential economic impact of AI is it's massive, and I think we're already seeing those early ripples of that wave.
And you highlighted some pretty eye-popping figures in these articles we're looking at. We're talking trillions of dollars potentially being added to the global GDP.
Yeah,
But you also pointed out that this growth, it might not be distributed evenly across the board. It's not as simple as like everyone benefiting equally from AI, right?
exactly. You picked up on a really crucial point there. While yes, AI is projected to boost the global GDP significantly,
Yeah.
those figures you mentioned, like we're talking a potential $15.7 trillion increase by 2030.
Yeah.
That's huge. But the benefits are unlikely to be, spread out all nice and evenly across every sector, every country, or even every individual.
So certain jobs, certain industries, those are likely to see much more significant changes than others.
Precisely. One of your articles, I think it was the McKinsey one, mentioned that AI could potentially automate somewhere between 25% to 60% of tasks
Yeah.
across various industries. That kind of shift, that's going to impact some areas much more dramatically than others. Think about sectors like, manufacturing, transportation, even customer service. They're ripe for automation,
Yeah.
which could mean significant disruption, honestly.
That makes sense. And if I'm like reading between the lines of these articles correctly here, it seems like advanced economies, those countries with existing infrastructure resources, they might have a head start in adopting and benefiting from AI.
Absolutely. Access to capital, digital infrastructure, a skilled workforce. These are all going to be absolutely key factors in determining which countries are, best positioned to ride this wave.
Okay, so we've got this like massive economic shift on our hands, but the benefits might not be as straightforward as they seem at first glance.
Right.
What does this all actually mean for, someone like me, someone listening who's just trying to navigate this new landscape?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And that's what makes this whole deep dive so interesting. You've identified, this critical need to understand not just the overall impact, but also the specific implications for individuals, like yourself.
When you sent in your research request, you specifically mentioned NVIDIA.
Uh-huh.
Their story really embodies this whole AI boom, don't you think?
It really does, yeah.
Yeah.
They've almost become synonymous with AI's rise and their stock market performance. I mean,
Hmm.
definitely reflects that. We're talking about a company with a market cap exceeding $3 trillion.
It's mind-blowing.
It's larger than the economies of most countries.
And you pointed out in your notes that a lot of this has to do with their dominance in the chip market, right?
Exactly. You highlighted really well, actually, their market share for data center AI chips.
Yeah.
It's estimated to be somewhere between 80 to 92%,
Wow.
which is practically unheard of, that kind of dominance in such a competitive market.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, how did they manage to like corner the market like that?
Well, one of the articles you shared, I think it was the Wall Street Journal piece, it had an interesting take on that. They were saying that it's not just about the chips themselves, but about the entire ecosystem they've built around them.
Okay.
So they're offering like a complete AI solution.
Hmm.
So you've got the hardware, the software, the data center designs. It's a smart strategy, and it's definitely given them a significant edge.
Okay, so they're on top right now.
Yeah.
But you also flagged some projections that suggest their growth might be slowing down, right?
Right.
Not collapsing or anything, but
Right.
still.
Even with their, strategic advantage they've got, maintaining that kind of explosive growth, it's it's a tall order, frankly.
Yeah. What are the reports that you sent? I think it was from Gartner. They predict that their revenue growth might go from 122% to a mere 80%.
Near 80%.
Yeah.
That's still incredibly strong growth.
Yeah.
But I can see why investors might be paying attention to that slowdown. Is that a sign that, like, the competition is catching up?
It's definitely a factor. The AI chip game is attracting some major players now. We've got big tech companies pouring resources into developing their own AI hardware.
Right.
And you highlighted some of these emerging competitors in your research too. What are your initial thoughts on those? What do you think about these new contenders coming in? Amidst all this talk about AI, chips, NVIDIA, all that, there's another like player in the game that you've been
Yeah.
following closely in your research, the Federal Reserve.
Uh-huh.
You included some articles about their recent interest rate decisions.
Uh-huh.
What caught your eye there? Why'd you include those?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got, like, while seemingly unrelated at first, the Fed's moves, they they can really have this ripple effect on industries like tech, especially those that are really heavily invested in AI.
Is that because, like, cheaper borrowing makes it easier for those companies to invest in growth and all that?
Yeah, precisely. You're connecting the dots perfectly. Lower interest rates, it's like it's a boon for companies looking to fund, research, development, expansion, all those things that are crucial for staying ahead in this really fast-paced world of AI.
And it seems like the markets have kind of picked up on this connection too, right? You flag those articles mentioning the surge in like chip stocks, particularly those with ties to AI after the Fed's, latest rate cut.
Yeah,
Nvidia up 5%, AMD up 7%.
right.
Even the SOX index that tracks the whole semiconductor sector, that jumped up by 5%.
Yeah, it's a clear indicator that investors they're optimistic. They're optimistic about the continued growth of AI, and they see, the Fed's latest move as like a sign that the economic environment's going to stay, pretty favorable for these high growth companies.
Yeah, it all paints a fascinating picture, really. This
Yeah.
this interconnectedness between AI, the chip market, even these big macroeconomic forces like interest rates.
Yep.
Before we wrap up our deep dive for today,
Uh-huh.
it'd be good to like distill all this information down into some key takeaways.
Yeah, there. Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground for sure.
Yeah.
So takeaway number one, I think, is that AI's impact on the global economy, undeniable at this point.
Right.
We're talking about like potentially reshaping industries, job markets, even global power dynamics, really.
And while those, eye-popping figures about trillions being added to global GDP
Right.
they're exciting, we also learned that the growth isn't going to be universally distributed. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Some countries, some industries, they're just like better positioned, I think, to capitalize on the AI revolution than others.
And speaking of capitalizing, we spent a good amount of time today on NVIDIA,
Yeah,
this company that's like become almost synonymous with AI's rise.
for sure.
It's remarkable their strategic dominance in the AI chip market.
It really is.
But we also know, and we talked about this, maintaining that lead is
Yeah.
not going to be easy.
Not at all.
New competitors are coming in. The pace of innovation, it never really slows down.
Never slows down. Constant.
And not to mention, of course, the wild card of the Fed's decisions.
Yeah.
While they might seem at first glance like totally distant from AI and chips and all that, their interest rate moves, they have a real impact
They do.
on companies, on their ability to innovate, grow,
Absolutely. The cost of capital.
all of that.
Yeah, it's huge.
So it's a complex landscape. It's dynamic, constantly changing, a little uncertain at times.
For sure.
But I think by understanding these key factors, anyone listening can be, a little bit more equipped to navigate this exciting AI-powered future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well said.